that possibly have to do with social change? Well, I've been exploring how beauty, absurdity, and bold physicality, like what you've just seen, when it's shared in our public spaces, addresses a universal need we have to share and celebrate our humanity. These transient public moments of human connection can inspire, engage, and ultimately spark change. I'm Amy Christian, and I work with Wisevolexa New Mexico. Our mission is to ignite imagination, build community, and promote social justice through the arts. And accessibility is something we're really dedicated to because we feel that if we're to affect change in our world, we have to open the conversation to everyone. So we bring our public spectacles outdoors into our common spaces where it can be shared by all. So Wisevolexa started in the 80s, and at the time I was a political activist. We were planning a protest for a nuclear weapons lab when we thought we could spice it up with some visuals. So we built a bunch of giant puppets in a basement on Haight-Ashbury, actually, and we built this big colorful procession to the gates of the lab, and we got there, and of course we got arrested. That was business as usual at the time, but what wasn't business as usual was that the next morning the front cover of all the local papers had big pictures of the puppets on them. And we thought, people have been protesting here for decades and no one has ever paid attention. So what could possibly be happening now? Well, we thought we'd better keep experimenting with this idea. So we brought our outdoor theater to public events and community celebrations and protests all over the Bay Area. And the same thing kept happening to us. Instead of calling security, people would come up and ask us questions. And it was like we had found this little golden key to a back door somewhere. Like you could pass through and suddenly people were willing to lay down their guard for just a moment of human connection across political lines. Now, this wasn't a new concept at all. The name Wisevolexa is based in the medieval tradition of court jesters who could broach subjects to the king that would get others beheaded. And the jesters, the fool would sort of make fun of himself and he'd mix in some eye-dazzling skills and in this way he would ease the tension around taboo subjects. He could offer perspectives to the king, new and different perspectives without alarming him to fury. And I call it the can opener effect. Because it's like you're using awe or beauty or laughter as a sort of can opener of the mind. Well, next we decided that we'd see if outdoor theater could bring a whole neighborhood out to reclaim their public space. So we started in the street. This was an outdoor theater festival in the Tenderloin district of San Francisco. And this is known as a bad neighborhood, of course, but really it's full of hardworking immigrants and families and elderly, and the highest percentage of children of any neighborhood in the city. So the festival offered an opportunity. It brought people down into the street to share an inspiring and beautiful and often hysterically funny arts experiences. Neighbors stood side by side and laughed and cried and gasped, but most importantly, they really met each other. And we watched how over the years, outdoor theater offered this opportunity for people to really recognize their common goals and struggles and to develop a sense of place and belonging in their neighborhood. While all this was happening in San Francisco, here in Santa Fe, Wisevolexa, New Mexico was being born out of a trip to Chiapas. We brought our performance to small indigenous Zapatista villages in support of their struggle for autonomy. Often the people there only spoke their indigenous tongue, and the theater became our common language, but it amazed me always how they really understood what we were doing and what we were bringing and our support through just this simple puppet and clown circus. We shared laughter and food in tense situations and had little moments of release. We brought their stories back with us, and this created bridges of understanding between cultures. But the moment that really struck me about the experience was when we were resting between shows. We're lying on the floor of this room, and these two little boys are looking through the window, curious at the foreigners. And the one little boy says, "Mira los gringos." And the other boy says, no son gringos, son payasos. Payasos. I was like, That's it, clowns. It's like superheroes leaping tall cultural and language barriers in a single bound. But that's it, because when a clown falls off their chair, we all laugh. No matter who we are, where we came from, what language we speak, we all see ourselves in each other in that moment of connection. All of this inspired us to take our work to a professional level where we can reach wider and larger audiences, so we created Flexion. And Flexion looked at points of change where you choose to either armor up against the unknown or lay down your fear for a moment of vulnerability and possible transformation. Flexion really toured outdoor spectacle on a grand scale right here in the US. It had a soaring truss and aerial stilt acrobatics, and it reached thousands at public festivals from Miami to Seattle and Quebec to El Paso, all different kinds of audiences. And Flexion's daring physicality really leaped the bounds of possibility and inspired our audiences to see that anything can happen, that change is possible, and that each and every one of us can be the person that makes that change happen. Now, Flexion enticed countless people from their daily path into a threshold arts experience. And here's how. In our lives, we're kind of moving on these wheels and patterns. We're on these tracks, and we just get from one place to another without really having to step into our conscious mind. Have you ever arrived home from work and you're sort of like, you have no recollection of the journey home? We've all done it, right? So you never really had to step off your track that whole time. You were on the wheel, you were in your unconscious mind, kind of going back through your day. And we all go through our daily lives this way all the time. So one day you're on your way home from work, you're just walking along, and all of a sudden, kabam, in front of you there's this giant moving structure, and there's a stilt walker walking past you, and you look up in the air, somebody's dangling by their toes, and you're like, oh no, they might fall. You just stepped off the wheel. Your conscious mind has grabbed hold, and you, along with all of the innocent bystanders around you, are experiencing a theatrical world. You're responding with joy or awe or laughter, but you're also responding with and to all of the strangers around you. You're engaged together in a transient collective ritual. We don't have a lot of those anymore in our culture, right? This is a shared, vital, and conscious moment of human connection. This brings me to our newest work, Seesaw, the work that Wisevolexa is creating right now as we speak here in Santa Fe. Seesaw explores the human dimensions of migration, our innate search for home and balance and connection. Like the tradition of the Wisevolexa, Seesaw offers an alluring entryway into a very taboo subject. It combines daring physicality with giant kinetic sculptures, so the artists are inhabiting this ever-changing environment. Every time one person moves, it affects the balance and possibly the safety of another. This will disarm our audiences and still them with wonder and compassion, and ultimately open doorways for people to have new dialogues and perspectives around the immigration debate. Accessibility is the key to works like Seesaw and any outdoor work. The NEA has done studies that have proven that outdoor arts events are seen by the widest and most reflective cross-section of our society. And a key to this is that many of those people are people who will never be lured through a theater's doors. So if art is going to affect change, it has to affect the breadth of our society. It has to move beyond traditional arts audiences and engage everyone in the conversation. This is what Wisevolexa does by offering works like Seesaw, offering fleeting moments of connection for people to really see each other, see themselves in each other, and have a moment of bonding beyond just our intimate selves into the greater picture of humanity. So I'm asking you today to join in a movement towards collective, towards public, accessible theater. You can do this by acknowledging it as a vital and valid art form in our society. You can do it by supporting the creation of new works such as Seesaw with your engagement, your resources, by telling other people you know to bring such works to their communities and public spaces and universities, and ultimately by you yourself showing up, participating, and engaging in outdoor arts events that build understanding through shared live experiences. Thank you.